this is Bob74H back with another review today. And today I'll be talking about the show Dateline, I think it's called. And why it's bad, or my critiques of it. Doesn't the exact wording itself doesn't matter, but yeah, I'm just gonna start off with the first point here, which is that it's kind of inconsistent as to how Shido can seal the spirits. Sometimes he can seal them and they have no access to their powers, and other times they can just access their powers whenever they feel like. And it's just kind of inconsistent. It's like, if he can seal them, right? Seal their powers, then why is it that they can activate them sometimes? The story tries to explain this by saying they have emotions and those emotions can negate the sealing. Which, at that point, it begs the question of, what's the point of sealing the powers if they can just access those same powers anyway? It just doesn't make any coherent sense. If the goal is to seal their powers, and, they can use them anyway if they get pissed off enough or they get upset enough, then why bother if it's not going to do the desired result, right? Another issue with this would be specifically with the movie, the Mayuri movie, right? So, my issue with that movie particularly is that, there's this giant spear in the sky. I'm going to describe to you as it happens, the exact description of it. So, there's this spear in the sky, and only Shido can see it, right? So, what they then do is they're like, okay, this spear is contained with all the energy or of the spear. It's condensed and emotional energy of their power, right? So he has to go on dates with them so they expel the power, I guess. And the reason why they're upset is that they don't spend enough time with him, and they're unable to contact him pretty much because he spends a lot of time with one girl, another girl, whatever. And so what happens is, the result of this, he says, well, I can only spend some time with this girl and this so much time with that girl. So the result they then give is, okay, these girls whose whole issue is that they cannot spend enough time with you and cannot stay happy because of such, and because they're jealous, we're going to do that exact thing they're upset with. And I'm thinking this doesn't make any coherent sense, because they're upset because they don't get enough time with him. So the result they're doing is they spend one date each, and it's I guess that works, but I mean that's still not really solving the actual problem there, which wouldn't actually resolve the spear in that case, because the problem still exists. Again, it's kind of a stupid point, because they're saying this is the issue, and they're doing exactly what the issue is. And it doesn't make any sense, because the issue they're presenting is that, his, harem, or his group of girls that he's with, are upset because they're not getting enough time with him, so they spend one day with him each, and it doesn't really solve the problem, nor does it really help, if you think about it logically. So it's still pretty much perpetuating the problem there, which is and you have to think he's pretty much been doing that anyway. He's pretty much been doing that exact same thing anyway. So if that would have solved the problem, then why would it exist to begin with if he's already been doing that, which he has, as we could see in the show itself. And another thing with the show that I didn't like is that the personalities of the characters sometimes just suddenly shift. Kurumi, right? Kurumi, or whatever, is portrayed as sadistic and kind of cruel, but at the end of the series, or at least at the end of the second season, she's portrayed as being kind of nice to him. She's portrayed as almost having an interest in him. Actually, she is portrayed in having an interest with him, which wasn't the case earlier on when she wanted to literally eat him. So yeah, it's pretty inconsistent. And I'm not using that OVA thing, which is not really relevant to the main story. It kind of just happens off to the side. But yeah, I'm talking about the main end of the second season, where she scales a full assault against the AST, I think it is, to rescue Tosca, right? So she's helping him with this, and she's betraying having interest in him, even though this wasn't really an element before. It's just kind of come up now. You could say, well, she was like going on a date with him before, but then that doesn't really make much sense when you consider that she only did that so she can gain like time energy from him. It wasn't really because she cared or anything. So again, this is kind of contradictory. And another thing I didn't like was with the Yamai sisters. It's like, okay, so why do they want to like kill each other and return back to like this original entity if they both don't want to die? Like, why is this a thing if they both don't want to die? Like, it doesn't make any sense because, later on they like state that to each other, that is that they don't want to die. They're like, well, we like each other, we love each other, whatever, and we don't want to die. But then it's like, why were you fighting about this to begin with if you didn't want to die? Like, it doesn't make much sense. And you could say, well, there wasn't a third person there, and it's like, yeah, you are correct, but it still doesn't justify how they wouldn't come to this conclusion on their own. Another thing is that these spirits are portrayed as having like almost nigh plot relevant knowledge. Like, sometimes they don't even know what names are. Like, Totsuka didn't know what a name was. And some other spirits just have like perfect knowledge of their name, what their history is, yada yada. Like, for example, Yoshino, I think it is. She has perfect knowledge of her name and everything. So it's like, okay, so how does, the knowledge differ so greatly? And it's also very convenient that they all happen to know Japanese. Very convenient. They all happen to know the same exact language perfectly. For some reason. Even though they're like portrayed as like aliens from space. It's like, if they're aliens from space, then how do they know an Earth language so perfectly? Like, this is an Earth language and they know it perfectly. Doesn't make any sense. And we kind of get like this hint of where the spirits come from, and they never bring it up again. It just kind of brought up and never addressed again. And the weird thing is that the AST, like, originally was shown in the first episode that they're in the same spaceship as like the main cast, like Shido's sister. Like, they're shown to be in the same space, but then later on it's like stated that they're a different organization. It's like, then why were they in the same space then? It doesn't make any sense coherently. And again, this is another inconsistency too. And it's that they don't have any memories of their past. It's just very, very convenient that they don't. Like, for an example, Origami, I think her name is. She literally has this person, Shido's sister, kill her parents, right? That's what happened. And apparently she's never recognized that she's the one who did it. Like, it doesn't make one lick of sense. Like, when she turns into her spirit form, she recognized it was her. But when she was in her normal form, she didn't recognize her, even though they looked nigh identical. And this is never brought up as to why she recognizes her then, but not before. And another issue with the whole, Shido's sister killing Origami's parents, another issue with that arises would be that he doesn't have any memory of that. Like, he has no memory of that, nor does she. And so they have to kind of contrive it so that their memories are erased. And it's like, why was this never brought up then by anyone? Like, apparently the higher up in the second season knows. I think his name's like Westcott, but anyways, like, he apparently knows about it. And apparently it's never been mentioned to anyone. Even though Origami works for the AST and they know she has a thing for Shido. Like, this is never really brought up, even though the connections in the story would infer that she would have knowledge of this. Like, she's described as a captain of, like, her group. So she's a pretty high-ranking military officer in her division, you could say. And she doesn't know that Shido had his memories wiped, even though higher-ups at the organization would have probably told her that, considering she's a captain. And B, she would know because there would be gaps in his memory because of the wipe. And C, she should have known this because his sister is the murderer of her parents. Like, this just doesn't make any sense. And it was implied that a different demon did it, like a different spirit caused her to be that way, like she wasn't originally a spirit. Which I guess makes sense. And we later get information on, like, Shido's real sister, which really doesn't matter in the overall grand scheme of things, which begs the question why she was even introduced to begin with. Another issue that happens in the story is that Totsuka, in, like, this inverted form, right, makes a big fucking, crater in the earth when she, slices the blade down, and it cuts a big hole, like a big gaping hole throughout the city. And later on in the OVA and in the movie, we don't even see that hole anymore. Like, it's just magically been repaired. It's like, then where was that big hole in the city that was there before? It just apparently disappeared. Like, it's just so incoherent at mimes that it begs the question of, how does this even make sense? Like, even sometimes it's weird because, Miku, like, sometimes she has the power to perfectly control people, and other times she doesn't. Like, she couldn't control Ellen, but she can control, the superpowered, spirits. It's like, how can she control, the superpowered, extraterrestrials, but she can't control a mortal human with some technology on her? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And another issue is that characters just act stupid. They just act retarded at times. So, Westcott, he tells Shido, why don't you just grab your sword and bust it through the glass so you could free her? And apparently he never thinks to do that. Like, he never takes him up on his advice and just breaks through the glass door. It literally doesn't make sense. Like, the plot is telling us, yeah, he can do that. And it's like, why doesn't he do that? He wants to rescue her, right? Wants to rescue his girlfriend, if you will. And another thing is that there's multiple chances he gets at, like, getting to her faster. Yeah, he talks to this Miku chick for, like, 20 minutes. It's like, if he cared so much about his fucking girlfriend, then why is he sitting here talking to this girl? Like, the story is telling us that he cares so much about this, this Miku chick. I mean, not Miku chick, Totsuka. Yet he's, stopping to talk to Miku. It's like, he wants to rescue his girlfriend, yet he's apparently wasting time with this random chick. It doesn't make much sense contextually. Like, there's gods who will pull up behind him sometimes and, get swatted away. It's like, if they're in the middle of discussion, why have these random gods show up to interrupt the conversation? I get it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't show up, but you've already had stupid contrivances like this before, and it didn't make sense then. So, just stick with the flow of that scene and don't have random troopers show up because it doesn't make sense. Because you've already condensed yourself into a story that doesn't make sense anyway. So you can always have it flow well. So another thing is is that, the durability of these spirits is very inconsistent. Sometimes they can just brush off blasts from these AST members, and other times they have to straight up fight them. Like in the first episode, Shido's just sitting down talking to Totsuka, and they're like hammering away at her. Like, they're just shooting bullets upon bullets. And it doesn't even, like, phase her shield, I guess. Yeah, later on, she has to fight full power against Kurumi. And it's like, well, she has, like, an amp suit. It's like, yes, but it's definitely not to the extent that it would, completely even the playing field against 3 whole different spirits. But okay. Another thing is too is that spirits have like this human like presence, and all of them are female. Like, why would all the spirits be human females? And also, if they're from space, as like the story indicates, then why do they look exactly like human females? Why do they have the same, you know, language as them? Why do they talk the same? Why do they look exactly the same? Why do they have the same color blood, the same color skin? Like, they're so similar, and it doesn't make any sense as to why. They're supposed to be aliens, and they look exactly like humans. And it's like very inconsistent too. It's like, if these are exactly like humans, then why isn't there a male species? And even what's their names, the Yamai sisters, it's established that they know what males are, like boys. And it's like, okay, so that infers there's boy spirits, and it's like, so why haven't we ever seen a boy spirit? Like, if there was a, only females thing for spirits, right? There can only be female spirits, then it wouldn't still explain the inconsistency with them having knowledge of males. And how could them being perfect non-identical copies of females even work logistically if they are only a female species? Like, how would they reproduce if they're not identical to humans? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. There literally has to be male spirits, yet there isn't any shown. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. There literally has to be a male spirit for things to make sense. And again, it's kind of weird because, some spirits are, like, established to be from, like, space wormholes, and other spirits are established to be, like, just possessed humans almost, or humans with, like, certain powers. So it's not even consistent what a spirit is. Like, sometimes it's like an alien, right? And other times it's just a human with powers. So, on top of spirit being ill-defined as is, there's inconsistencies with the ones from space as is, right? Because, again, the ones from space, like the Yamai sisters, are established as knowing what males are. Meaning that there has to be males. But the issue is we don't see any, meaning that there probably, isn't many. And another issue would be that if they're perfectly identical to humans, and they have all the physical traits of them, they can reproduce, they get turned on in the same way, they have the same behaviors, yada yada. If that is the case, then would that mean humans descended from spirits, or spirits descended from humans? And they would have to be somewhat related, because these similarities wouldn't exist elsewise. Anyways, why would they be in space if they are, humans? Like, how would humans be in space if we assume they are related to humans, which would only have to be the case going off what we know? And then again, there is multiple issues with the idea that, spirits can be harmed. Because sometimes it's shown that, weapons can't harm them, and sometimes it's shown that they can. It's really inconsistent as to what can damage them, and as to what can't.